The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, NXT Review.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max NXT Takeover Chicago review. My name is Brandon Biskobing. I will be your host for tonight. And joining me tonight is Liz Pugliese. How's it going, Liz?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Not too shabby. So before we get into the show, I told you that I was going to do this before. For those of you who have not listened to either this or the Raw review or the SmackDown review or Kickoff or whatnot, some of you may not know, but some of you may, that I used to call basketball games with Seton Hall. And do you know what another school in the Big East is? Do you know your college basketball is?
No.
No? Okay. Well, another...
I mean, if you say the names, I'll know them, but
okay.
I can't tell you who they are.
Well, another school that plays in the Big East is DePaul, which their home court is Allstate Arena. Mm-hmm. And back in 2013, the first game of the Big East season, I was on the call for Seton Hall versus DePaul at Allstate Arena. Mm-hmm. And let me preface this by saying the reason why I'm going into this rant is because I call every time WWE ever goes to Allstate Arena, I always cringe and call it the hellhole. And this is why. As we're about to get on the plane, my sports director calls and says, "Hey, different setup. Normally we would hook up through a phone line and connect through a phone line back to the studio to connect us and to put us on the air. But he says, we're gonna go through an Ethernet cable." And I'm like, okay, fine. Just guide me through it. I'll figure it out. I connect it. We get up to the box, connect it. Everything looks fine. We're ready to go on for pregame. The studio sends it to us. We hit go, and it crashes on us. And we're like, oh.
Oh my God.
And we're like, oh, what's going on? So we reconnect it, tell them to send it back to us. We try to go on again. Crashes again. I send my color commentator to go try to find one of the technicians. And during this, I'm like, we gotta get the game on the air. So I just called through my cell phone. And after about 15, 20 minutes, like halfway through the first half of them trying to figure out how to connect it, I'm just like, screw it. Let's just go through the phone. But at this point, I'm so rattled that like all of the prep work that I had for that game, including wanting to talk about how, Allstate had hosted 3 WrestleManias and the wrestling history behind the arena and everything during breaks, was all gone. It was all out of my mind. And it was one of the worst broadcasts I ever had, and it was all because they had to decide that we're going to use Ethernet instead of the phone line. So screw you, Allstate Arena.
You really know how to hold a grudge there.
Yes I do. Oh, Tori said the same thing before. She's like, really?
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that. So, yes.
I get it, though. I do get it, though. I can hold a grudge with the best of them.
I mean, especially because it was my first play-by-play game on a men's broadcast. And it was the Big East opener for the season. And it was like, I wanted to get a good game in. And nope. So, yeah, that's my Allstate Arena story. So, let's get into the show, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
The opening contest, scheduled for one fall,
Wonderful.
is the NXT Tag Team title match between the Undisputed Era with Adam Cole!
Baby.
At ringside, facing off against the team of Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. And this was a wild one. Very fast-paced, lots of back and forth. Lorcan and Burch looked like they may have the upper hand for a little bit. But in the end, Undisputed Era wins. Adam, in spite of the fact that Adam Cole, about 3/4 of the way into the match, gets ejected from ringside because he pulls, I believe it was Kyle O'Reilly who was getting pinned, and Cole pulled him out of the ring to avoid the pinfall. The most interesting thing, I mean, this is Chicago, so it's not really all that surprising. But the most interesting thing about this match, to me at least, was how, Undisputed Era is supposed to be the heels, and Lorcan and Burch are supposed to be the faces in this match, yet the reactions were completely reversed.
And loudly.
Yes.
I mean, there was no even disguising it.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who's still quite new to NXT, I had to remind myself that it was that way. Who was the heel and who was the face team.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have any problem with the. I'm one of those people who think like the heels should always be booed or whatever. But I was surprised how very much they were on them.
I'm not over the top surprised because while, yes, Lorcan has done some stuff in the Indies, and obviously Danny Burch has done things in England,
right.
They're not as big of names in the Indies as the Undisputed Era have been. So when you've got two very big name indie guys and one, fairly big indie name guy on the same team, it would make sense, especially in a very smarky town like Chicago, that they would get more of the cheers.
Right, but I don't have all that background with them.
Oh no, I understand that. I'm just explaining why.
No, I know. I know you do. No, and I appreciate, that insight, but since it was so, loud, which just added to the intensity of the match.
Oh yeah, but I mean, to the crowd's credit, they did start to get behind Lorcan and Burch once they started doing some of those crazy moves like that. It was like a somersault out of the ring, like over the top rope that Lorcan did onto O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm. And there was the great moment when all four of them were in the ring. I forget who the legal men were, but the other two came in trying to break it up, and then he ended up kicking him in the head.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool.
But yeah, this was a great match. What were your thoughts on this match overall?
One of the best tag matches I've seen in weeks of wrestling.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because NXT actually cares about their tag division.
Right. And I do. And I think if anybody actually out there, which we're still waiting for confirmation, listens to us, that they know by now that I don't really have time to watch a lot of other stuff, although I do try to keep, up on it, a little bit. So I'm sure there's tons of great tag matches out there, isn't it, that I have not seen. But yeah, it was stellar. I kind of went into it thinking, all right, every time there's a takeover, all I hear is takeover was way better than the pay-per-view, and that's really not hard to believe, even not watching it, because most of the time the pay-per-views are like, you have to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So that's not hard to believe. And then just in that one match, I was like, yeah, okay. This is why they're always saying that.
Not to mention that the takeovers, are, well, with the exception of, like, Chicago, this time with Money in the Bank, they're almost always on the same weekend as one of the big fours. And for
Right.
whatever reason, WWE loves to overhype the big four pay-per-views and then underdeliver.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't think of one of the main ones that blew me away. That blew me away.
Yeah, recently at least.
Mm-hmm.
So the next match scheduled for one fall
Wonderful.
is first let me rewind that real quick. We get a little bit of looking into the crowd, and you see Kairi Sane at ringside, using her pirate lens, looking around the crowd. I kind of wish that this would have led to something. We'll talk about someone else who was also in the crowd later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish that this would have led somewhere. But unfortunately it didn't. But we'll talk about that more later. So, again, the following contest scheduled for one fall is the grudge match, or whatever you want to call it, the one-upsmanship between Ricochet and the Velveteen Dream. DREAMC. So this was just a slobber knocker. This went back and forth. Both of them putting everything they had into this match. Ricochet stealing Velveteen's finisher at one point. And yeah, this was a crazy match.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very eloquent tonight since I'm a little tired. But it was, I think everybody expected to be blown away, or at least heavily entertained, by the match. And they didn't, disappoint. I mean, just the moments when, how the distance they got, when they were jumping across the ring was extremely, impressive. I mean, you see that now and again. But it was really intense. I mean, they didn't hold back at all.
Oh, no,
which
not at
I
all.
loved, and they're, especially I think for Dream, because I don't know how tall he is, but he is pretty tall, where he seems it. I don't know if Ricochet's a little short, whatever. I have to look up their heights.
I mean, Dream
Maybe
isn't super tall, but
like he's
I
super,
think
super tall.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, but even for his height, he's very flippy.
Oh yeah.
He's very fluid. So the two of them, it was like some great dance. They just flowed really well together.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this was a great match. I mean, if it wasn't for the main event and the story behind that and just the intensity in that match, this probably would have been the match of the night. But we'll get to that match in a little bit. The next match, scheduled for one fall, is the Women's Championship match between Nikki Cross and Shayna Baszler. Nothing over the top crazy in this match, but just a very much, Baszler trying to beat down Cross, and Cross just not caring because she's crazy. And this ended with Cross getting knocked out with the Kirifuda clutch by Baszler, not willing to tap out, but fading and passing out instead, and the ref stopping it. So, this was another pretty good match. Not quite as good as the first two, but, still a solid match. And I have a feeling, we talked about this, I think we talked about this on NXT, this past week. But, I think this is, especially considering they haven't even debuted on the main roster yet, I have a feeling that Cross comes up now and joins Sanity, and, all four of them debut finally on the main roster.
yeah, I'm interested to see, what they do with them. Hopefully they don't tone them down
I agree with that.
too much. Water it down
But
with
I
them.
don't really have much faith in the main roster when it comes to tag teams or factions. You already know this.
No, I know, and I agree. And I agree. I know somebody doesn't necessarily.
He'll come
agree
around
with,
soon enough when all the other tag teams that keep on getting called up keep on getting buried.
It like as you said, the match. It was a good match. The video packages really helped me with this one because out of all the storylines for the matches, I was less familiar with this one for some reason. So the video packages were, as always, amazing and very helpful.
Pretty much the simple explanation is Baszler is this badass fighter who just intimidates everyone, and Nikki Cross is just crazy.
Right. Yeah, that I knew, but was easy to pick up on. But the packages help fill in some of the backstory, so you get a little bit more out of the match. You know how I generally am like, I don't really care about the women's wrestling. I really enjoyed this match. I think I paid attention to this women's match, more than I have in any recent women's
that's
match.
Because NXT, same as the tag team division, the NXT definitely focuses a lot more on the women's division than the main roster does.
Yeah, definitely. So now, as you're saying, you think Nikki's gonna, go up with Sanity. On one level, it's great because who doesn't want to be on the main roster?
But at the same time,
I'm right there with you. I'm like, I'm really enjoying the women's division here much more than on the main roster, because after a while, everybody on the main roster becomes the same thing. Your friends, then your enemies, which is, of course, the core basis of any wrestling, storyline. Yes. But then everything starts to become like very, total diva-ish, whatever the match is. You don't really get a match of that quality on, I think probably at the house show you probably get better matches than you actually see on TV.
Probably, and that's
you generally do from, a lot of times. I mean, I think at least with the, the women, I think at the house shows they're given more time and there's less emphasis on something. I would just hate to see, Nikki or even Shayna, eventually and probably quickly lose some of that edge as it becomes, toned down to deal with, network requirements or just, whatever else. I'm sure there's like 1,000 factors. I'm not just going to out and out blame Vince. I'm sure there's like 1 billion factors, possibly whoever.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. So it's, I mean, if they're going to keep them, edgy, I mean, I know some things will have to change, but it was good. It was the best women's match I've paid attention to in a while.
So yeah, following that we get EC3 being shown in the crowd, which again, just as like I mentioned with Kyrie, I'm surprised that they didn't use that, especially because they showed Kyrie right before the women's title match, and now they're showing EC3 right before the NXT title match. I'm surprised that they didn't use this as a way to, kind of put Kyrie into the title picture or EC3 into the title picture following each match.
Yeah, I definitely expected him to interrupt or at least join commentary or something, one of those standard things you get used to.
Yeah. And then...
Wait, let me ask you a quick question. Who's Keith Lee?
Well, I was about to bring that up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, after that they showed Keith Lee, who he was in Ring of Honor for a little bit, but more recently he's been in Evolve and PWG. And he's now the newest member of NXT.
Oh.
Yeah, well, yeah, see, you wouldn't know this because this is your first takeover, but they'll show... like, if they get a new signing who's going into NXT, they'll do their kind of, like, showing them off, with the exception of Adam Cole, but, that's a different story. But most of the time they'll have them sitting at ringside and they'll show them. and introduce, the fans who may not know them to them, but at the same time, kind of show that for the fans who do know them that, hey, we got this guy now. Here you go.
Oh, excuse me, I was trying to drink some water. That I
Okay.
kind of knew that they've done that, but I actually was under the impression that he was there before, and now they were going to do something more with him. Okay, so that's where I was confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's joining NXT now.
Okay, cool.
Adam Cole was the one exception who, wasn't in the crowd, but then he ended up interfering in a match, and that's how he was introduced. So the next contest scheduled for One Fall is the NXT Championship match between Aleister Black and Lars Sullivan. This was a match that I thought could have been a little bit better, but it was still a solid match. They definitely went back and forth. I thought this match could have been a little bit more brutal, but there were some pretty brutal spots at the same time. And at the end, Aleister wins with the Black Mask to retain the NXT Championship. It'll be interesting to see where they go with this on both fronts because, Lars Sullivan, Harry kind of brought it up last week, but he's kind of, the mini Braun Strowman, the NXT version of Braun Strowman. And just like Braun Strowman, he dominates everyone, but then can't seem to win the title. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with him moving forward on this one.
One thing I liked, it definitely will. I hope they don't make it so much like that. But we'll see. I don't think their story is necessarily over yet.
Yeah, I don't think this is over.
One thing I did like was that, it took 3 Black Mass. Is that what it's called?
What, Black's finisher?
Yeah, Black's finisher.
Yes.
It took 3 to officially, end him. It wasn't one of those like you see on the. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Hold on. It took 3 of them. It wasn't that the person was, did one and then the person recovered. Like it in some way, stayed down. It just took 3 of them.
Yeah.
To finish him off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree with that. But it was a solid match. It wasn't anything, like I said, it wasn't anything super crazy. But, it was a solid match. I agree with you that I don't think this is the end for this. I think that this will perhaps continue, perhaps get a rematch at Takeover Brooklyn 4. I think this may become a triple threat or something. I don't think it'll just be them. I think they're going to put more people into this match. Moving into Takeover Brooklyn 4.
EC3 or something.
Yeah, I think EC3, potentially Ricochet, after his win. So yeah. Then we get, before the main event, we get Gargano walking in the back, which is just a tunnel going under a street, by the way.
I did not know that.
What?
I did not know that.
Oh yes, that whole walking through into there at Allstate, the media entrance is on the other side of the street for some reason, and you have to walk through a tunnel underneath the road to get up into the arena.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's always fun for me whenever they're at either Allstate, Prudential Center, Barclays, XL Center or KFC Yum Center in Louisville, because I know, like, I recognize things when they're doing the backstage segments because I've been there.
That's pretty cool.
And we get Candice coming up and giving him a crutch and telling him to kick Ciampa's ass. So that was nice seeing her, because the last time we saw, at least, on a, WWE.com exclusive video, which they finally acknowledged in the video package for this, it seemed like she was done with this and she wasn't wanting to be involved, but now she is on, squarely on Gargano's side, which is good to see. So the main event scheduled for One Fall is a Chicago street fight between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Probably not, but trying to finish it off where it all began last year. This was just an absolute brawl. First of all, before we talk further into this match, when they went out into the crowd, did you hear the fan call him the devil? Yes,
I said to myself, I have to ask Brandon, who said that? Was it an announcer or a fan?
No, it was one of the fans.
It was hysterical.
It was. It reminds me of a couple of weeks ago. Did you see or did you hear when he came out? One of the fans was like, "I hate you."
Yeah. But the devil one was like so clear. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Is that the announcer?
No. He was just so close to the mic, and the crowd was there, and the camera was there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then they brawl out into the crowd. That was funny. The planted sign right there that Ciampa tried to rip up, and then Gargano revealed that there was a stop sign in between it.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. Maybe I'm stupid. There was a stop sign in it when he was trying to rip it. I'm sure a lot of people you were giggling okay,
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what the hell? Why can't he rip up the sign?
Oh my god, this is going to be all over the internet. They're going to be making fun of him,
Yeah.
And then when Johnny was tearing it, I'm like, oh, there was just oh, there's a lot of layers, and I'm like, oh, there was a stop. But it was it's so well done that for a second, and this is going to sound stupid. Feel free to laugh at me. I'm like, did the fan put a stop sign in? And they're like, oh wait, no, you moron, it was planted. It was planted. My main thought for this match was, we see a lot of street fights, not a lot, but you see them on the main roster, and they're all not horrible, but most of them are lacking. And this is, as I said the other day, as somebody who grew up watching a lot of the smaller federations, because for some reason they were shown in New York City. I have no idea why. But NWA, I know, right? WCCW and WA, some stuff out of Texas, where they had all these crazy, matches, barbed wire and everything, and whatever.
And not to mention,
actually Freddie.
Not to mention the Northeast Zone ECW.
Yes, all that stuff. I was like, this is a street fight.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
This is what it's supposed to be like.
Now you tell me, because you've watched longer than I have.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen someone tear up the mat before. Have you? I've seen them tear up ringside, take the padding off of the ringside area, but never the mat.
I have to Google it. I've seen rings torn up, more than just the turnbuckles and things like that. I'm not talking George Animal Steel, type of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, in my memory, I don't think I've ever seen them go down that far. In tearing up the.
They went down to the wood.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've never seen that before. That's the one thing, not just the brutality of the match itself, but like the fact that they were creative with it, the fact that they were
Yes.
innovative with it and brought us different things that we haven't ever seen or we haven't seen in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You
while
no,
we
go ahead.
didn't get one of my favorite Extreme Rules spots, which is, I mean, he kind of did it, but didn't at the same time, which is the chair in head spot.
Mm-hmm.
We did somewhat get it with him putting it over his head and then throwing him into the turnbuckle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was a great, great street fight. But
You know,
did you have anything else to say?
when he was on I missed a tiny bit of it. I'm going to be honest with you. So I had to go back and like watch real quick before we started. So like leading up to him being on the stretcher,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I was like, and not in a disappointed way. I was like, oh, this is how they're going to end it. I was like, this is how they're going to end it. Because I said to you in chat, is this the last match? Because I was like, oh, then either they're not. I didn't know how long the takeovers usually ran. So
Well,
I
I looked on the thing,
this.
and it normally lasts about it normally lasts 2.5 hours.
Okay, yeah, because it was like 15 minutes or so left. I'm like, okay, so probably a little bit longer, whatever. So I was like, oh, they're going to end it with him going out on the stretcher. And I wasn't normally like, you roll your eyes. I wasn't disappointed with it because it was already a freaking amazing match.
Mm-hmm.
So it was believable. So I'm like, all right, either that's how they're going to end it or, he's going to come back out. I loved the twist of, Gargano there pulling him back, to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, it kept you like kind of on the edge of your seat. It kept you heavily involved in the match.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, this match definitely kept you on the edge of your seats the whole entire match. Well, let's talk about the main spot first, and then we'll talk about the ending. After all the chaos at ringside and everything, Gargano and Ciampa end up over by the not the announced desk where it is tonight, where it is normally, and like on Raw, like over by at the side of the stage. And they go up onto this, one of those boxes or whatnot. And it looks like Ciampa's going to throw Gargano off of it and very douchily rips off Gargano's wedding ring and throws it aside. But Gargano is able to reverse it and power bombs or Samoan drops. Or I'm not sure. I forget exactly what the move was that he did, but throws him into a table down below.
Mm. And that was one hell of a spot.
Oh yes, it was. And I think that's leading up to something. I'll discuss this at the end of the match, but I think them doing such a high spot like that is kind of leading into something. I'm hoping. One can only hope.
I'm intrigued.
Yes. And so, that's when they get the stretcher out and everything, and it looks like he's done, and they're wheeling him out, and Gargano says, "Not so fast. This ain't over yet." And he brings him back into the ring, beats on him some more, puts him in handcuffs, keeps on beating on him. I don't even know what they were. I guess like security or something because they were in suits and everything. Like that confused me. I was like, who the hell are these guys?
I was a little confused too because I'm like, that's a lot of agents. I'm like,
I was like, where the hell? Where are all these agents coming from? But there's no ref in the ring when Gargano puts Ciampa in the Gargano escape twice, and he taps out both times. But the ref appears in time for Gargano or for Ciampa to hit Gargano with a DDT onto the exposed ring mat, onto the exposed wood, and 1, 2, 3, and it is over. Ciampa is your official winner in this match. First off, you were talking about you were surprised, when Gargano came out, or when Gargano started attacking him again and brought him back into the ring after he was put on the stretcher. Maybe this is me just being like, the writer in me and me knowing too much and everything. I was like, oh God, you screwed up, Gargano. You just wrote your own death warrant. You're done. You're losing this match now.
Yeah, kind of. Once he, I'm sorry, because like I said before, I wouldn't have been disappointed if it ended with him, on the stretcher.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, he's gonna, come back out. Once my brain kicked in, I was like, oh, okay, so now, he's probably gonna win, or they're both gonna end up, lying on the mat, or the floor or whatever. Because which I liked, I think they came pretty close to like a count out.
Yeah, they did. They came within 1 second for both of them of a
which
didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense, but sometimes I like to say it. I don't know why.
Because wasn't this supposed to be a no DQ match?
Yeah, I know. That's what That's what I thought. I thought it was. So once he started beating on him, I'm like, okay, now they're either gonna not be able to stand up. They're both not going to be able to stand up, and the ref's going to call the match, or he's going to lose. But either way, the fans wouldn't have lost, because they both would have been they both would have been believable, if you will, finishes.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
When the was it in this match? Because my brain is starting to get fuzzy. No, it was something else, so I won't even mention it. I got a little messed up.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was just because there were some huge, things throughout the whole show. I don't know. You could probably talk about this match for a long time, but definitely the I'll call it the match of the month. For me.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. But like I was saying before, well, first off, I agree with you. This was absolutely bar none the match of the night. Like I said before, if it wasn't for this match, Velveteen Dream versus Ricochet would have been match of the night for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this has to be match of the night. But like I was saying before, and I don't know if Harry will still disagree with me on this, because there's no way with the way this finished that this is over. But especially considering how this match ended, and considering the spot that we saw, the big spot with him dropping him off of that thing into the table. Granted, that's not quite as high as this will be, but my prediction still stands. Takeover Brooklyn 3, Gargano versus Ciampa for the first time in NXT history inside Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Oh, so could I. And as if they let them go all out, and hey, they've been allowing a lot more lately. Cough, cough, Shane McMahon. If they allow them to truly go all out, they could potentially, and especially with those two and how crazy they are and how willing they are to put their bodies on the line, as we saw tonight, they could, if WWE and Triple H allowed them to go all out, they could rival the likes of Mankind versus Undertaker and Triple H versus Cactus Jack.
And I dare say perhaps exceed.
Well, it would be pretty hard to exceed, but if we saw another throw off of the cell, or hey, actually, here's well, Well, actually, we got both of those in that match, too. So nothing can compare to Undertaker, Mankind in 98.
Oh, yeah. No, I know, but I'm being optimistic.
Yes. But they could definitely come close, with some of the spots that they could come up with.
I love a good Hell in a Cell match.
What?
I love a good Hell in a Cell match.
Oh, so do I. Hey.
One of my favorites.
I've been... Hey, that was one of the matches that got me into wrestling in the first place. When I first saw that Mankind versus Undertaker King of the Ring 98 match, I was like, damn. Like, that's why I liked wrestling, back then so much as compared to something like boxing or MMA. It's like, because of the scripted nature of it, you can do so many crazy things, and, it works. You can do these crazy high spots.
Right.
And, that's something that I feel is definitely missing in modern WWE.
It really is. They have the opportunity to do it. It's not that they don't have those matches, but everything is...
It's toned down.
It's toned down, and then too much ends up like the street fights are usually like comedy fests, or so bland, like they never even really leave the ringside,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think that this is definitely going. I mean, this has to go to Brooklyn 3, or Brooklyn 4, excuse me. And I want to be right. I'm hoping I'm right that it is going to be the first ever NXT Hell in a Cell match between these two, and they're just going to tear the house down.
I am hoping you are correct here.
So let's put a nice tidy bow on this show. What's your rating for this?
Simply for the fact that it's the first takeover I've watched, and that it has held my attention. It held, rather, my attention more than any main roster show, save some stuff on 205, than anything. And I definitely paid more attention to it than most pay-per-views I've watched in a while. I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay. I'm going to be a tiny bit lower. I'm going to give it an 8 just because, the first two matches and the main event were fantastic. Right. They were astounding. But the women's title match and the NXT title match, maybe they have plans to do some more with it moving forward, but they still, at least to me, left some things to be desired.
I can totally see that. But like I said, I was a little generous too because this is the first.
Yes. Oh no. Of course. Of course.
I've actually.
Yes.
Like, oh, wait, people stop calling me. Let me watch this.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, I definitely understand that. It's definitely easier to rate it high when you haven't been watching for over a year.
And now it's like, I kind of get it. It's like. Now I'm thinking of Money in the Bank tomorrow, and I'm like...
and you're dreading it?
Like, I'm really going to be even more disappointed. I went into this thinking to myself, all right, let me see if this... Don't be cranky, because we all know I'm cranky. We all know I'm a very cranky person. Don't go into this, cranky and jaded, like, yeah, okay. And I don't mean just like you and, Harry. Like, every wrestling fan that watches it is always like, blah, 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 blah. Don't be like, jaded and be like, okay, whatever, they're all, blow hard, who bitch about the main roster. So I went into it with an open mind, and, from the first match, I was like, shit, I hate when all these people are right, but no, I really enjoyed it. And, I wasn't looking to find a problem with it, because if I was, I would have, that's how it works. But now, I never really go into the pay-per-views. I have to be honest with you, I don't even really watch all the pay-per-views. Like, I'll watch them, like, I'll have them on, but like I'm usually doing like 1,000 other things, or if I think I might have to fill in reviewing it, I'll pay more attention to it.
Like
There's
tomorrow.
always, like tomorrow. There's always a couple of matches where I'm like, yeah, whatever. I couldn't care less, and I'm honest about that on the shows. But now I'm thinking, all right. So I never go into a pay-per-view, the Big Fool or any of the other. I'm thinking, all right, it's going to blow me away. It's going to be amazing. I set myself up for disappointment so that I never feel bad.
See, I need to start doing that, especially with the Big Fours, because like this year's WrestleMania looked on paper to be like, it was going to be one of the best WrestleManias of all time. But of course, WWE in classic WWE fashion always finds the way to screw it up.
Yeah, they ruined it in so many ways. So now I'm like, okay. I'll go into Money in the Bank tomorrow with an open mind. I was like, I have a feeling I'm going to be like everybody else.
And saying Takeover was 10 times better.
So much better, yeah.
Hey, you know what's next? You know what's next for you?
New Japan?
Yep. Precisely.
Yeah, see, okay, you'll have to tell me where to start with that, or just jump in and go back with
honestly, you know where you should probably start, at least on a big show level, because at least you'd know one person, and you'd be able to you'd know one person on it. Start at Wrestle Kingdom this year, since you'll be able to watch Jericho. Or if you want to go even more recent, you can just start at Dominion when he won the title.
Okay. We'll go from there. I have a summer to catch up on. I could use the summer quietness.
Well, although that's the thing about New Japan, it's like it doesn't seem like they have that much, but then once you start falling behind, then you start realizing just how many shows they put on.
Yeah, it's kind of like me and Doctor Who. I didn't stop. My best friend's been talked about it all the time. We met in college, so we've been friends for 20 years now. But no, 24 years. But he always talked about it. And then one night he came over. He's like, "We're watching this." So my Doctor Who started with the end of 10, so 11 was my first Doctor. But then I went back and watched the first, 40 some odd years. 40 some odd years of it, or as much as of it that I could find, so I would approach New Japan in a similar manner.
In a similar way, yes. That's kind of how I approached WWE originally too, where I first started off by watching some of the Attitude Era stuff, and then started watching Modern, and then just started watching more Attitude Era stuff.
Now the network makes something like that.
Oh yeah.
Fairly easy because you can even jump around. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's get a one word review on this real quick before we get even more sidetracked, and let's get out of here.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go with. I don't want. Sorry about that. I don't want it to be something dippy and say great, so I'm gonna go with gripping.
Okay.
Since it held my attention, as so many things don't.
Sounds good. My one word review for this is brutal, and not in a bad way of it was brutal to watch. Brutal in the sense of those 3 big matches I talked about that were really good were all brutal, and even the other 2 matches were, while they still left something to be desired, they were also very brutal. Some of the spots in the Aleister Black versus Lars Sullivan match, I thought for a second when he went with those punches and elbows, Black was, I thought he was gonna bust Sullivan open.
I thought so too.
So yeah, definitely a brutal event, and I mean, hey, that's what you want, and And especially considering Money in the Bank, you're expecting brutality with that Money in the Bank ladder match.
Ugh.
I'm sure we're not going to get it, and we're all going to be disappointed. But
me included now. Even more so.
You've joined the depression group.
Thanks, Brandon.
You're welcome. So that just about wraps it up for us here. Be sure to tune in to Liz, myself, and not sure if it'll be anyone else. We'll see what happens tomorrow night as we review Money in the Bank for all of you guys. So for Liz Pugliese, I'm Brandon Biskobing saying so long. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Get ready for 4 nights. Get ready for the quadfecta of Liz and I. See you guys.